A very good morning, students. Welcome back to your online English tutorial class. So today we are going to learn how to write a story. A story has three different parts. The first one and the most important one is character or characters. Every story has characters. It can be one character or there can be more than one characters. Okay? The characters can be adults, can be children or even animals. Not only that, in some stories we have seen that non-living beings means objects were personified. That means they were given human nature or human characteristics. They were given these voices to make it a character. That can also be done in some stories. Okay, just in the story like Beauty and the Beast, there the teacup was talking. A teacup is a non-living being. It cannot talk. But in a story that is completely based on your imagination, there anything can happen. Right? So there a teacup was given some human characteristics, that is talking. Only humans can talk. So here this teacup was given this human trait and voice to make it a character. Now the next most important thing is plot. You can write a good story if your plot is good. Okay, rather the plot is the story itself. A good plot captures attention and makes the reader of your story want to keep reading. Means it engulfs the reader to keep on reading your story. So you can use your imagination to develop the plot with interesting details while writing a story. Now the next thing is conflict. Now this term conflict might sound heavy, but it is nothing other than a plot. It is rather it's like you can create suspense while writing a story so that the reader is motivated to read on. Conflict is something that does not make the story monotonous or boring. Or it can be an issue or problem faced by the characters of the story. Okay? And the third important thing is setting. Now the setting is where the story takes place. Okay, it may take place in a familiar city where you have visited, where a city which you know. You can make your imagination like that, that you have visited a city and you can make the city your setting of the story, or another country, something completely of your imagination. Okay, and it can be your school, it can be a sports stadium, any place that fits the characters. Suppose in your story you are talking about a character who is a cricketer. Now a cricketer does not have any business in a football ground, right, in a football field. A cricketer will play, or a cricketer will be best fitted in a cricket ground, right? Just like that, you will choose a setting or choose a place according to your character that fits the character and the plot. Now the next important thing that you need to keep in your mind while writing a story is time period. Means the tense of the story, which tense you will use while writing a story. Present tense, past tense or future tense. See students, there can be more than one setting within a story if the story is long. Okay, the setting of the story can be shifted from, if we are talking about a cricketer's life or we are writing about a story on a cricketer, then the life of the cricketer can be shifted from a setting of a cricket ground to his home, to another city where the cricketer has gone to play cricket, like that. Okay, that setting can be changed according to the story if the story is long enough. But in your standard, since you will be writing a short story, it will probably be best to set it in one place, only one place. related to the setting is the time period. Now a story may be set in the present, in the past, or in the future. Okay, but using past tense would be preferable in your standard to write a story. What else do we need to keep in our mind? When you will plan to write a story, to begin a story, you need to begin with the character, if there is one, or characters if there are many. Okay, then you will think about the plot, means a plot according to which the character or the characters will act. Okay, and the third one is place and time for the action of the story to happen. Once you start writing the story, initially you might think that it is very tough for you, but once you start writing it, you will be surprised to see that how many ideas you have for those characters, that plot and those settings once you start thinking about them. Alright, so there is nothing to be afraid while writing a story. This might be new to you, but I'm sure you will enjoy this. Okay, these things, this writing a story, that means the plot, the character, the setting, it can be based on your real life experiences. Okay, so somewhere you have visited, or any person that you personally know. Suppose you are creating a character while writing a story that is very much alike of your mother, or of your father, or of your friend. Okay, the way your friend behaves, you are writing or you are creating a character just like your friend. That is your real life experience. Okay, or they may come completely out of your imagination. You can use your imagination like you use while drawing a picture, or while watching cartoons like Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk. These are all fictional characters. So while writing a story, you can use this imagination and write it. Or you can I can give you a tip or a hint while writing a story. You can think about some of your favorite stories that you have read in book. Now think that how would you describe the characters, or these characters that you have chosen, where do this story take place, means where should be the setting, or what the story is about. If you are writing a story about Hulk, then you will think about this, where are the places the Hulk is a scientist, so you will think about that, what scientific inventions he has made, or where are the places he has visited and smashed everything, like that. Okay, now the first thing is character. We will focus on character. While writing a story, you will begin with the main character. Now how to do this? While writing a story, creating the main character, you will think of some of the interesting people you have known. Okay, you may decide to write about a character that is based on a person you know, or you may want to give an animal that we have talked earlier, that or a thing. You can personify any non-living being. Okay, now the next thing will be plot. Now of course your character or characters will need a story to be part of, definitely. So they need to do something interesting or have a special experience. Otherwise your story will not be interesting, right? It will be very boring or very monotonous. The reader will lose interest while reading it. So think of some of the things you are interested in and you like to do. You might want to write a story in which the characters play sports, solve a mystery like a detective, or win a contest. Something exciting, embarrassing, or scary that will keep the reader hooked to your story. Okay. Then the next thing you will focus on, that is the setting. So when you have an idea for a plot and the characters it will involve, you will need to decide where your story will take place. Means the position, the place, or the setting of the story. Sometimes you will decide on the place before you make up the plot. So there is nothing wrong in that, that if you think about the place before and then you place the characters, you think about the characters, you can do that too. So if you like visiting zoo or any mall, you may want to set a story in one of those places. Okay, maybe the place you spent your last summer vacation is a good setting for your story. If you choose the plot first, the setting of the story may be obvious. For example, if you decide to write a story about a baseball player, so there's a good chance that at least the part of the story will take place on a baseball field, right? Now, a story can be written in many ways. It can be written from the given outlines in the question, or a story can be written based on a moral, or the third way is to write from incomplete hints. Okay, so while writing a story from given outlines, it will be like you are given outlines of the plot and you are required to build up the story. This should be easy and interesting. You don't have to invent the plot. The plot is already given to you. You have simply to fill the details in an attractive style. Okay, now we will discuss about this first point only, because in your exam questions will come like this, means the outlines will be given to you and you need to develop the story, or you need to join these outlines and make a story out of it. And while doing so, there are certain things that you need to keep in your mind to make the story attractive and interesting. What are those? The first thing is, read the outlines carefully. Alright, if you cannot understand the outline at first reading, then read it second time, read it thrice. Keep reading it until you understand the gist of the story, means what the outlines are about. Okay, now once you figure out that what should be the character and what should be the setting, then you try to figure out that which order you should maintain. Now while doing so, you need to keep in mind that the outlines will be given in proper order. So do not exchange the order, do not alter the orders, okay, and do not omit, means do not eliminate any point. Okay, do not leave any point untouched. You have to touch every point. You have to make sentences using every point, every outline, and also maintain the order of the points. Okay, now the third thing, and that is very important thing while writing a good story, I mean without this third point, it will just be a story. It can be might not be so interesting, but it will be interesting if you can inculcate this third point in your story, that is connecting every part in such a way that the story is a coherent piece. Means the story should make a sense. Now at the end of this class, you will get a specimen copy, means an example how to write a story. You will find there that a point that there might be given two different outlines in the points. You can use those two outlines in one sentence. So there is no hard and fast rule that you have to make one sentence from one outline only. You can use two outlines and join those two outlines and write in one sentence. The main thing should be, your motto should be to write the story in a compact way. Okay, it should make sense and it should not have any loose end. Okay, the composition should be tight. Now the fourth point is introduce conversation. Now it is not mandatory, that it is not compulsory to introduce conversation in the story, but it will be interesting and it will keep the readers hooked into your story if you introduce some conversation or some dialogue, if possible. And the fifth point, that is very important, that a title of the story, you need to give a title of the story. This is one of the In fact, it is the only format of writing a story. Okay, there should be a title. Without a title, it will not be a story. So while suggesting a title or writing a title, you can go for a proverb. If you don't know any proverb, then do not worry. Read the outlines carefully and try to think what the story is telling. What is the story conveying? Based on that, you can suggest a title. And the sixth point is write the story in simple English. Now there is a misconception that to write a good story in English you have to use such heavy words. No, that is very wrong. You can write a simple story using simple English. That can also be very good. All you need to do is to keep in mind that there should not be any mistake or any errors in those sentences that you are writing, right? That will only attract the readers. Error-free story will attract the readers. Okay, if there are lots of mistakes in a sentence, the reader will lose interest and leave the story halfway. You will not want that. And the last point, that is not mandatory, but it is preferable to write the story in past tense. Okay, now we will look at an example how to write a story. Okay, here are the outlines given. Let us read the outlines first. A bee falls into a tank. A dove flies past. Dove means a bird. Drops a large leaf into the water. The bee climbs on the leaf, flies away. A boy takes aims at the dove. The bee stings. The dove is saved. Now, if you do not understand the outlines at first reading, read it more than once, multiple times, till the time you understand the points. Now, if you read it again, you will understand that here the outlines are talking about helping each other. Okay, means when you are helping each other, your kindness is noticed, and not only that, your kindness is rewarded. Okay, here at initially the bee has fallen into a trap. It was in danger. A dove came and saved the bee. In return, when the dove was in danger, the bee helped him to save its life. So this is the gist of the story. Now we will develop a good story with English, with simple or understandable English to write a story. Okay, you can suggest the title as here it is suggested, kindness rewarded. You can write on your own. If anything comes to your mind other than this, you can suggest it in the comment section down. Okay, let us read the story written. A bee went to a tank to quench its thirst. Quench means to satisfy his thirst. And tumbling in was almost drowned. A dove that happened to pass that way saw the danger the bee was in. It hastened to a neighboring tree, a tree that was nearby, okay, and plucking off a leaf, dropped it into the water in front of the bee. The bee climbed on to the leaf, dried its wings, and flew away to its hive, full of gratitude to the dove that had saved its life. A few days later, the same bee, while returning to its hive after a hard day's work, saw a cruel boy taking aim at the dove sitting on the branch of the tree. At once, the bee flew to the wrist of the boy and just when he was going to shoot the dove, stung it. The boy danced with pain while the dove, realizing the danger, flew safe way. I think it is quite understandable. Okay, so this is just an example how you have to write a story. Now soon enough you will get one worksheet on story writing, that you will write it, that you will solve it and send to your teachers for checking. Okay, that's all for today's class. We'll meet again next day with something new. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye bye everyone.